so today we're going to start our review. You're live. We have a shout out 7th period. Say hi to everyone. No. All right. Oh, okay. Here we go. So the first thing that you're going to have to do on your test, there are 4 questions relating to this, is you have to identify the trig ratio. Now, one key piece, because we already have every single side, we don't need to use the trig button. On these 4 questions, all you're doing is identifying the ratio. Some of you should not be on your phones. This says tan z. So that means z is my theta. That means that if this is my theta, here's my right angle, this is my hypotenuse. These are my 2 important angles. So this is my adjacent, this is my opposite. Excuse me. So because of that,
the SOHCAHTOA, is that going to be on the test? We have to remember.
So you don't have to remember SOHCAHTOA on your test. Every single question has a link to the formula sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good question. So tan theta is opposite over adjacent. So here, all I need for tan z is opposite 21 over 28. Now, you might have to reduce the fraction, but truly on your test, all you're going to have to do, is it wants it in decimal form. So you're just going to type in 21 divided by 28 and get the decimal.
And that's your ratio.
And that's it. You do not hit tan. Remember, the only time we're going to hit sine, cosine, or tangent is if we need to find the trig ratio, is if we need to find the missing side or angle. But we don't need to find the missing side or angle, so we can skip it. Let's look here. Here's cos C. Here's my C. That means that this is my right angle, so this is my hypotenuse, my opposite, and my adjacent. So now what we're going to do is cosine is adjacent hypotenuse. So that means that I've got cosine C equals adjacent 16, hypotenuse 34. Like I said, the answers are in decimals, so you just literally type it in, like 16 divided by 34, and that gives you your answer. Does anyone need me to do another one of those? No.
Just the ratio.
Yep.
C.
Yes. Okay, so we're good? We're good on trig? Okay, these you don't need. Okay, next is it's going to go over different things with angles. So, guys, stop. Here, you're going to have 4 questions where you have to determine angle, side, side, not congruent, things like that. So here, let's do some examples. If we look here, we have this as a side, we have this as a side, and we have an angle. So we have 2 sides and an angle. The question is that the angle should, if we have it here, it's not SAS, because this angle, here's one of the sides, here's the other side. The angle is not touching both sides. So because it's not touching both sides, it's not congruent.
I got a question.
Yeah.
All right, so in some cases, say a triangle, if it doesn't have like a missing, like sometimes it'll be like, say if it's missing a side, say if these 2 shapes are separate, it's missing a side or angle, and it'll be like there's not enough information.
I mean, perhaps it depends.
That's what
Yeah, I mean, in this case, there's 2 sides and an angle, but it doesn't match up. So if we look over here, we know these angles are congruent for vertical angles. So this is angle, side, angle. The side is touching both of my angles. So this would be angle, side, angle.
What about number 5?
Yep, I'm getting there. I got you. So in number 5, we have one angle. Can we please not talk over there? Because I know you guys want to get a good grade on this test. So here's one angle. Here's one side. We only have an angle on a side, so it's not congruent.
So if it's missing one thing, you can't prove it. It's not congruent.
Well, if it was two angles, it could be similar because there's two. You can have two angles that are similar in real life, not on this test. But okay. Anyone need me to clarify side, side angle, side, anything like that?
No, you're fine.
We're good. All right. Let's move on.
How many questions is this?
This one has 40. It literally looks like what I'm showing you. Okay, this next one is we're finding the missing angle measures. No, this one's harder.
Can you use the hard one so it's easier to see?
Yeah, in a second. Okay, so let's look down here. Number 7, you're going to have 2 questions where you have to find an angle. Okay? So if we look here, we know if we're trying to find this angle here, we know because of vertical angles that this angle and this angle are the same. We also know that every triangle has 180 degrees. So if we add these 2 up, that means we get 50. So if we subtract 50, that means that this has to be 130. And because these 2 are 130, excuse me, what's happening over here? So, all right. Yeah. And then I subtracted. Guys, I'm recording. Thank you. Okay, here's another one. Okay, look at something like this. If you have something like this, okay, here we know that a triangle has 180 degrees. So we could take all these things. Deja, I need you to stop. And 54, and all these together give you 180. So then you would just add them up on the calculator, combine like terms. Whoops. We get one. Ooh. No, that's still right. It's just a negative number.
Well, shouldn't we just add 55 and 54 to get it?
No, because this is going to, no, because then we have to subtract 183 from both sides. And so x would have to be -3. And x can be -3 because if we put -3 in here, that means that this is going to be 71. So if we add up 71 plus 55 plus 54, we get 180.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, can we just add 55 and 54 minus 180?
And then you can.
Oh, okay.
Then over here, how we have 8x plus 2, 70, and 60. Same idea. 8x plus 2 plus 70 plus 60 gives you 180. (180 minus 132). 8x equals 48. Divide by 8. X equals 6. Anyone need me to do any more like this?
Just one more. Something that's like more different than that.
So the only other one is you'll have something like this. And let's say this side says 3x plus 8. And this side says, let's say 29. Ethan? And so what we're going to do, Nayla's going to turn her body so she can pay attention. 3x plus 8 equals 29. Why did I put 3x plus 8 equals 29? Because they're vertical angles. So then we subtract 8 from both sides. 3x equals 21. Divide both sides by 3. X equals 7. There's 2 questions like that. Okay, a couple other triangle ones.
Will that question be on the test?
Not those exact numbers, but something like that.
I'm saying with the one that's right next to it, the one you drew.
This one? Nope, not that hard. Okay, let's look right here one more time. Settle down, guys. All right, so we're gonna move on to another one. Proportion.
Wait, hold on.
Excuse me, thank you. Proportions, you guys have to do proportions on your test. Okay, just a reminder for proportions. That's why I said no food. I thought I made it extremely clear. Okay, now let's look at this one. These are very simple proportions you guys have coming up. Very, very easy ones. A regular proportion would be something like this, where all you do is you cross multiply. Then you divide. That's it.
You do the same thing like 6 and 5.
Oh yeah, Dr. Gary, you know if we have those questions that you type in.
This test is all multiple choice.
Oh, I was about to ask
Like how many decimals and stuff. Yeah. This one's all your finals are multiple choice. Guys, YouTube is recording you talking.
Sorry.
Please stop. Because you're gonna have your 7th period or your 6th period and 8th period people hear you being disobedient, and you're giving me proof to talk to your parents.
Sorry.
So let's look real quick. The only other one that you have is something like this, where instead of it's just to the number, it'll be like 6. Well, I put 6p. I shouldn't have done that. Let's put like 2n here. So here, just make sure when you multiply, you have 8 times 2, which is 16n times 100. You won't have any that you need to distribute as far as I know of. Okay, so here's 6.25 again. Oh, isn't that interesting? Anyone need me to do another proportion?
No, you're fine.
Okay, next you have Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem is on your formula sheet if you forgot. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so the main thing to remember for the Pythagorean theorem is c is always the hypotenuse. So in this case, we don't have a number for the hypotenuse, so that would be like RC. So we would do 4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 1664 equals c squared. 80 equals c squared. And then remember the last step is you have to remember to take the square root. Okay, so when I take the square root, how we do it on the calculator is you have to hit the second button, and then this x squared gives you the square root key. And then you have your answer. But look, this isn't what I want. So I have to go back to mode, switch it to classic, and then I can do it again. Square root of 80 and get the decimal. Ma'am.
Does it tell you if it's like what we're doing, like if it's a triangle, we'll say Pythagorean theorem or
Nope.
Won't tell you.
It'll just say find x.
We have to figure it out.
So you'll have to know that, oh, there's 2 sides. I need to get the.
Okay.
But remember, this test, you're never hitting sign for the strategies test. None of the questions you're finding the missing side using sine, cosine, and tangent. The only thing you're doing are the 4 things I showed you in the beginning, which is find the ratio, hit, and then to do the regular division. I know. It'll be on your next one, but they didn't put it on this one. Okay, next. Anyone need me to do another Pythagorean theorem? Okay, actually, let's do one like this. Okay, let's look at this one. Here again, the hypotenuse is always C. So in this case, it would be like x squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. Okay. And then you do the square root and you get x is 6. So sometimes you have to subtract. Just remember, sometimes you add, sometimes you subtract. Okay. All right, let's look at similar triangles. Okay, here, for example, if you have to determine if something is similar, you need to check those proportions. So, why is this also not good? So here, how you would compare it is we have to separate out these triangles. This might be more on your test like tomorrow. So or whenever I have you, some of you I have Wednesday. So here's 16 and 25. This whole side is 88. This whole side is 132. So in order to see if they're similar, basically what I do is I just do the big number divided by the small number. So I know this is 5.5. And then I would do 132 divided by 25. I get 5.28, so they're not similar. So that's all I did.
So how would it be if it was similar? They would both be the same number?
They would have the same ratios.
Okay.
So like up here, if I do 48 divided by 8, I'm going to get 6. If I do 72 divided by 12, I get 6. And if I do 84 divided by 14, I get 6. So in this case, they're proportional, so they're similar.
I like this.
Okay. Okay. Next. Here's the next one. Here we have to find the missing side. Let's see. Oh, no, this is still seeing if they're proportional. Here we need to find the missing length. You have 2 questions like this on your final today. The main thing is here, how we have it, they said this whole thing is 12. So that means that this piece is x, and then this piece here would be like 12 minus x. So when you set your proportion, you've got 12 minus x over x equals 6 over 18.
I see how you do that.
Where'd you get 18 from?
Right here.
Oh.
So then we would cross multiply. Yep. 6x equals 18 times 12. I've completely confiscated your calculator. Thank you very much.
Can we still divide the triangles? Like separate them into 2?
You can, but I think it's more work. In this case, I would do, like, remember how we did the proportion one? Like if I turn the paper for number 19, well, that one's going to be way harder than you need to.
It'll help me better if I drew it out.
You can draw it out. And then here would be minus 18x, and then you'd solve. Okay? So you have 2 questions like that. Anyone need me to do another one?
We're fine.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at number 16. Here I've got this piece over this piece, 9 over 9 equals, this will be x, and this will be 22 minus x. We still cross multiply. 9x equals 9 times the quantity 22 minus x. Distribute. 22 times 9 is 198. Add 9x to both sides. Thank you. This is how you should be the rest of the time. 198 divided by 18 gives me 11. So 2 problems like that. Now, let me show you one thing about why this test is so easy. Okay, real quick, look at this picture. One of them, they made very easy for you. Oh, I didn't even draw it right. Let me do another one. Okay, so look here. One of these, they set it up like this, and you have to find the missing side. But the issue is that it looks like you're missing a number. So you just have to use your brain and be like, oh, it's 3, because 12 minus 9 is 3. Then you can set up the proportion 9 over 3 equals 10 over x and cross multiply. Okay. Next, we got to keep going. Okay, now we're on transformation. This test is not curved. Okay. Yep. Okay. Excuse me. You have 4 transformation problems. Excuse me. 4 transformation problems. In this case, it's slid. I know it's slid because it's pretty much facing the same way. And then I say, well, if it slides, what happened to the x? What happened to the y? Well, the x, if this is 0 and the prime is at positive 1, I know I increased it 1. If it didn't move up and down, my y just stays the same. All this happened here is it moved 1 space right.
So it's multiple choice?
Yep. It's multiple choice. So here, I can see that this is reflected. Thank you. Dan, front desk. So here I know it's reflected, and this would be my line of reflection. And I know that that's my line of reflection because this space is 2, this space is 2. This is 1, this is 1. So that's how it matches up. So then I just number it. Well, here's 1, 2, 3. So it's a reflection at x equals 3.
How do we know that? Once again, I forgot how to do that.
Tina, please stop talking.
How do we know where it's at?
Well, you have to look. Remember, you were trying to find if this is 4. We know that the reflection is always halfway across. So 4 divided by 2 means I'm counting 2 spaces. 1, 2. So like here, it's 2. Again, like that.
Okay. What you're saying, even if it's in different quadrants?
Yep.
Always divided by 2?
Yep. Okay, so here's another example. Here, the distance between the 2 f's is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I know I have to go 3 units. So here's my line of reflection. So you have, and then I guess this one is very similar. Actually, you don't even have a rotation on here. All right, so I'm moving on from transformations. You have 4 transformations. Done. Next, you have 2 problems that relate to segment addition. Yep. You'll remember it when you see it. Okay, so this we did it back in September. All it's saying is if this whole thing is 23, all we do is we add up these three pieces. So we've got x minus 6 plus 9 plus 2x minus 19 equals 23.
And you gotta find out.
It's been a hot minute since we did.
Yep, and then we just combine like terms. So hit now we have negative 6 plus 9 is positive 3. This is negative 16. Add 16 to both sides. 39. And then divide both sides by 3. X equals 13. Yep.
How many of these questions do you have?
2.
So all you gotta do is combine like terms.
Now, here comes the trick. You ready for the trick? Hey, guys, quiet a second, please. Here's the trick, okay? The trick is this is a multiple choice question. So if they give you the answers of like A equals 5, B equals 6, whatever, C is maybe like 7, D is 8. I don't know what the real answer is. The other trick that you could do is just plug everything in. Well, 3 times 5 minus 28 is whatever the number is, and then see if you get 33. So the other thing is you can use the multiple choice answers to help you and just plug them in for X and see which one gives you the correct answer. Does anyone need me to explain that for you?
Yes.
Okay, so this whole thing was 12, and they said this was like 3x, and this was x, and the choices were 2, 3. Let's say the choices were 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, if I plug 1 in here, that means this is to be 3 plus 1. Well, 3 plus 1 is 4, not 12, so I know it can't be 1. Then I plug 2 in. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. This would be 2. 6 plus 2 is 8, so it can't be that. Here I can put 3 in. 3 times 3 is 9. Here's 3. 9 plus 3 is 12, so I know 3 is my answer. So if you don't remember how to do it, you can do it that way. Okay, you have 2 questions that resolve around an angle, but here's the trick. For some reason, on your test, they made the angles look like they were 180 degrees when they're not. So listen, you need to pay attention to what they tell you, not what it looks like. So here, if we have this, it says find KLM. Well, some of you will look at this and be like, oh, that's 90 degrees. It's not 90 degrees. You need to do the math. KLB is 26. BLM is 60. All you do is add the 2 up and get 86. Okay, so like down here.
Just like that.
Just like that. 2 questions just like that. Okay, so look at this one right here. Here's another example. Here, they told you that EDC, the big one, is 145. EDW, this one is 61, and they want this. What do you think you're going to do?
Subtract.
Subtract in this case, right? Because the bigger angle is the 145. We want what the 2 little pieces are. So now we know that if this is 84, these 2 will add up to be 145. Okay, so sometimes you have to add, sometimes you have to subtract. But don't go by what the picture looks like. Does anyone need me to do another one of these kinds of problems? We're good? Okay. Now you have questions on types of angles. As a reminder, if you have something like this, these are corresponding. They're corresponding because they can slide on top of each other. These right here are alternate exterior. They're exterior because they're outside the parallel lines and they're on opposite sides. Here's one angle, here's the other. Again, these are going to be corresponding because one's inside, one's outside. Here, these are both on the inside. So I know it's interior, and I know that not only are they inside, they're both on the same side. Yep. These are interior, but they're on different sides. So it's interior, and they're alternate interior. Here, these are both outside. So they're exterior, and they're on different sides, so they're alternate exterior angles. So far, so good? All right, so here, if we have to find the angle.
What's that on the same side? What's that called?
Same side.
Same side?
Same side. Same side interior, same side exterior. But if one's interior and one's exterior, then it would be corresponding. Corresponding is the only one that has one inside and one outside.
Supplementary is
180. So here, in this case, we have to measure what the angles are. So as a reminder, I told you label it. Label all the obtuse angles O. Here you have 2 questions on your test like this. All of the acute angles will be X's. So if this is 110, all the obtuse angles are also 110. And that means that if we know a straight line's always 180, all of these other ones have to be 70. Okay, let's do it again. Let's look here. We know that this is 84 is an acute angle, so it gets an X. All these X's are 84. To get this other angle, I take 180 minus 84 and get 96. So all my obtuse angles are 96. We good? 2 questions like that. Moving on. Parallelogram. Yep. You're welcome, Kennedy. Here's our next one. You have 2 questions on parallelograms that relate to angles. Just a reminder, well, that's the answer key. Hold on. As a reminder, if you have angles that are opposite each other, they're equal. So if this is 98, this has to be 98. If this is 70, this has to be 70. So if they're across, they're the same. If they're next to each other, then they equal 180. So if this is 80, 180 minus 80 is 100, so this has to be 100. And I also could do 180 minus 80 here and get 100 also. Okay, so if this is 135, I know this is 135, and this has to be 45. Because 135 plus 45 gives me 180. Anyone need more help with that? Okay, down here, you need to come up with YMKM. Okay, just a couple things to remember. If we look at number 9, diagonals in a parallelogram bisect each other. So that means it cuts it in half. So if KM is 23.4 and it wants YM, which is this piece, all you do is divide by 2. 11.7. Okay, let me see if there's a harder one. You're getting there. Let's look right here. Let's take this problem. It says UH, which is this piece, is 19. FH, which is this piece, is 5x minus 7. So U is kind of my, oh wait, no, the whole thing is 5x minus 7. So that means that, well, if UH is 19, this has to be 19. So what I can do is like, well, I know that FH is 5x minus 7. UH is 19. That means this FU is, UF is 19. And then when you add it up, we get it equal to 38. 5x equals 45. X equals 9. I added 7 to both sides. So I took that this is 19, this is 19. So altogether it equaled 38. Add 7, divide by 5.
So what side are we looking for?
And well, this case we were solving for x. So 5x minus 7, that x. So let's look at another one.
Can you go back to that? 'Cause I'm not understanding. Which one is 5x? Which FH?
FH is 5x minus 7, this whole thing.
Okay. What are we trying to find? X's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's look at one more. You guys have been doing great, except for some people in the first row. So here we have KU is 3x plus 3. UM is 4x minus 4. Now here's a trick. Do you see how this has a U here and this has a U here? And use the midpoint. Because of that, make U the equal sign. So here our midpoint was U, but U was only in one of them. It wasn't in both. So this is going to be 3x plus 3 equals 4x minus 4. So the trick is to pay attention. If the midpoint is in both of them, you know you have to set them equal to each other. If the midpoint's only in one of them, then you're going to be doubling that value. So here we'll subtract 3x from both sides. 3 equals x minus 4. Add 4 to both sides. 7 equals x. Almost done. Okay, you have 2 questions that relate to the exterior angle theorem. Now, I'm going to show you the way that will work every time that you'll probably do. There's, technically speaking, these 2 angles, when you add them up, will always give you this angle. That's the rule, but here's a hint. The rule is these 2 together equal this. The hint is, you know a straight line is 180. 180 minus 120 means that this is 60. And then you could just do 180 minus 60 minus 50 and get the last angle. Okay, so over here, here's another example. These 2 add up to 120. That means this has to be 60 because the triangle has 180 degrees. 180 minus 60 gives you 120 for that value. Anyone need me to do more?
Don't you have to do just 70 plus 60?
You could just do 70 plus 50.
Not the 60.
Nope.
Because it's a straight line.
No. So it's not, it is a straight line, but it's not like this angle's not touching this line over here. It has to, they all have to touch that at the same point. You couldn't do 70. Yep, Nick.
So as long as the line touch, it has to be and then you just...
As long as they share the same point. So like here, this shares the same point. So these, anything that's in here has to be 180.
So if we continue this straight line.
Right, so like this 50 degrees is not touching this point, so we don't count at it. So here we have 180 minus 115. That gives this is 65. And then we can do 180 minus the 50 minus the 65. Okay, last 2 things I got to show you. One thing, actually, I'm just going to draw it. If you have an isosceles triangle, and they give you this is 50 degrees. In this case, because this line and this line are congruent, that means their opposite angles are congruent. They're the same. So here you would do 2x plus 50 equals 180. And then you would solve. Now, I told you the easy way that I just do it is I just take 180, subtract the vertex angle, which means this is 130, and then I hit divide by 2. And you get the same thing. Yep. So when they give you the vertex angle, you take the 180 degrees in a triangle, you subtract the vertex angle, and then you divide by 2.
But what if it says that soften?
But here, in this case, they gave you 50. So because this is the isosceles, this is 50, this is 50, which means it's 100. So this has to be 80. The vertex angle is the angle in isosceles triangle that's not equal. So like if this is our isosceles triangle, these sides are the same, this has to be the vertex. These other two angles are called base angles. Okay.